Alright, so let's not waste any time, and we'll get straight to the requirements on how to make a custom species for web fishing. So, first of all, you will need GDRE tools to decompile the game, and the mods. You will need GodotSteam to make the mod project. You will need GDWeave to load and handle mods once your mod is compiled. You will need Solier's Lure mod. It's basically an API to handle custom species, custom fish, all that fun stuff. These are optional. You don't technically need these. Z's Lethal Company cosmetic pack will help you make cosmetic mods. You can look at the unpacked version of the mod and see the code and how things are structured so that they can be loaded into the game properly. Same for Z species, you can see the same thing. I will try to explain it later on and how it works, but if you find you're struggling, it is good to look at somebody else's work and see how they did it. The last thing I recommend is the player template.blend. It has the Webfishing player model as a blender file so that you can modify it and you can make your edits or make your own character in there. It's not technically required, but it will make it a lot easier. Before we do anything else, we do want to make sure that your save file is backed up, because it is very easy to corrupt your save file and you will lose all the progress you have. So go to the Windows icon on the bottom left and type %appdata%, and then go to Godot, go to app user data, go to Webfishing 2 new version, and then you want to copy the Webfishing migrated data and you want to put that somewhere safe. I will just put it on the desktop for now, because every once in a while Webfishing just completely erases the backup that's in this folder and you will lose it entirely. So just make sure, put it in a different folder and you will be fine. Alright, next step. We will go into GDRE tools, extract that, and then what you want to do, we will unpack Webfishing. So what I recommend doing is you go to Steam, go to Library, right-click on Webfishing, either on the Reset Games or on the left side. You can click on that too. Go Manage, Browse Local Files, and then you won't have GDWeave, but I do because I already have it installed. But what you want is the webfishing.pack file. So now what you do is you open GDRE tools. And now what you want to do is you want to click and drag webfishing.pack onto it. It will read the pack, and then this message will pop up. Make sure you have full recovery clicked. You want to put the files somewhere safe where you can reach them easily for future purposes. I would make a new folder for it and just call it something simple that you can recognize. We can close out of GDRE tools for now. And we can close out of this for now. Now, once we have extracted Godot Steam, you want to go into this folder that says Steam App ID.txt. And what you want to put in here is going to be 3146520. And that is the Steam ID for Webfishing. And then you want to save that and close out of it. Now you want to open the Godot Steam editor, and you want to create a new project, and you want to put this project somewhere safe that you can reach really easily. Name this how you want to name your mod, and then you don't have to touch anything else. Just create an edit, and now this is very important. You want to look on your left side and right click on the folder that says res:// and then you want to open in File Manager. And now in here you want to create a mods folder, and then inside the mods folder you want to create a mods folder with the following structure. You want it to have your author name. So you want it to have the author name, which will be your username or whatever alias you go by. For me, it's going to be this. And then you want to name it the name of your mod. So for me, it's going to be this. And now inside the folder, you want to create a new document. You can do whatever you want, as long as you can change the whole thing, including the little dot prefix, to main.gd. It'll give you that, and you can just say yes, and then minimize this window. Keep it minimized. Don't click out of it. And now for the next step, you want to go back to the decompiled version of Webfishing. You want to create a mods folder here, but you won't create the author name folder where you created on the other half. You won't create this, and I'll tell you why. So we're going to create a link so that this folder shows up here, and whatever you place in this folder will show up on this folder, and it will help immensely with exporting the mod later. So what you want to do right now is you want to type in command prompt, and then make sure you run as administrator. Click yes. And then what you want to type is mk link /j. And then you're going to go to the destination, which is Webfishing, the decompiled version of Webfishing, and make sure you put quotation marks before this, in between. And then you want to do /, and then you want to do the same name you did for your mod folder over here in the Godot project. So for this one, it's going to be my username, and then the species tutorial, but for yours, it's going to be different. It's going to be your username and whatever you named your mod. And then you close that off with quotation marks. And then what you want to do next is you want to copy this one, which is going to be your target. And then you put quotation marks. And then you click enter, and it'll create the junction. You can close out of this now, and then you will see this little folder with the little arrow icon on the folder. That means that it's linked. Here is the next big step that you will take. You're going to get the lure mod, and you're going to extract it. So lure mod. You're going to go inside the folder. You're going to take out GDRE tools, and you're going to unpack the lure mod. Same settings as before, full extraction, and just put it somewhere safe. Okay. And then you can close out of it. And now what you want to do is you want to go to the decompiled version of the game. Wherever I put that. Alright, there it is. And then you want to copy Solier's lure. Just want to copy the icon.png import and everything above that. Do not import the manifest.json, the project Godot, and these other two. You can just click and drag those in here. Place files and destination, and now you will see that Solier's mod is on here, and then your mod is still linked in a separate folder. So anything you put in this folder will only go to your other project. Anything you put in the decompiled version of Webfishing will not be put into your main mod, but you can still work on your mod with the decompiled version of Webfishing, which will really help. Alright, now we're going back to Godot. So now you're going to go to GodotSteam, open up the editor, import, select browse, go into where you put the decompiled version of Godot, and clicked on Project Godot, and then import and edit. Alright, now before we do anything in Godot, you want to go to Project Settings, go to Autoload, and then you're going to open up with the little folder, go to Mods, click Solier's Lure, main.gd, open, and then on the node name, you're going to name it the author, so in this case, Solier. And then without the dot, you want to put the mod name, and then click Add. And then you can do the same thing for your own mod as well. So you can go back, main GD, and then, again, your username, no space, no dot, and then click Add. Close out that. Alright, and now you have to make your mod. So you can save this and get out of this. And we can instead open the player template.blend. It should look like this. And in here, you can turn off specific parts. You can look at everything. If you open this little collection of players, you can change the head. You can show the fishing rod. I'm personally going to make a mod of the cat species. If you bear with me real quick, I will make a quick model tweak, and I will come back. Alright, now that you have your textures done, you should have at least 4 for the base textures. You can export them and put them somewhere safe. You want to call them accordingly. The first one will be Collie, the second one will be Tux, the third one will be Spotted, and the fourth one will be Calico. I do want to mention that I forgot to mention this earlier, but when you're doing your textures, make sure that it is black and white. Black is going to be the primary color you choose in game, and then white is going to be the secondary color. And then for the primary, you can do in-betweens with the grays, but for the white, it's just a plain white color. You cannot do any gradients with that one. And preferably you want to keep your lines as clean as possible. You don't want any opacity changes because it will reflect in game. Like, this is not gonna look very good in game, but I'm not sure how to fix it. And also make sure it's UV unwrapped. And now to export it, you will select the skeleton and you will select the head. And then you will click File, Export, GLTF 2.0, and then put that in the decompiled folder for web fishing. And then over here on the right, you don't really have to touch anything. Just make sure selected object is on, and you should be good for that. Then you can close out of this. Alright, and now we are going back into Godot. And now we want to create a new folder in your mods folder. You want 4 new folders. First one is called assets. And then inside assets, you're going to put models. And then inside assets, you're also going to create textures. And then outside of assets, you're going to create resources. And then if you have any custom sound effects, you would put them in the assets folder under a sounds folder. I do not have any custom sound effects, so I'm not going to be doing that. And now for the next step, what we want to do is go to the file system and then search up player. You want to look up player and look for playerface.tscn, and then you want to duplicate, call it playerface_test, duplicate, and then you're going to move the test into your root folder for your mods. And now look up species, and you're going to take either one of these, duplicate it, call it accordingly to your species. Mine is going to be that. And then you're going to take this and move it into your resources folder in your mods. Alright, the next step, click player_template, GLB, which is the Blender file we imported earlier, and we're going to go with new inherited, and this is going to contain your head. And now what we shall do with this is, I recommend removing the texture if there's one, remove material. It's going to be dark, but that's alright. Select the head, click on the arrow icon, make unique, save, and you're going to save this in mods, assets, models, and then you're going to call this your species name _head, and then save that. And then you can close out of this. You don't have to save. Then you want to take your resources. If you didn't already rename it to species according to yours. Species _ your species .tres, and then you're going to open this up, and you're going to replace the mesh model with the model that you just created. So you can click that and drag it in there, and if you have an icon, you can replace it. You can rename it. You can put a description on it, and then everything else in the folder is fine. You don't have to touch anything else in there. For the texture folder, if you have not done so already, import the textures that you made earlier in Blender or in your program of choice, and make sure they're in the textures folder. Yep. Now, the next step is open up the player face test scene, and you will see this. Now this is the placeholder animation for the face, but what you want to do is you want to click and drag your species head model into the scene, and then you want to zero it out so that it's in the middle. So go to transform on the right, zero it out. If you have to move it down, for mine it looks like I will have to move it down. Click the plus icon and look up mesh. Create that. Now on the right, create a new, you can just move it. Move the plane, duplicate the plane, rotate the plane, then move it back. And then if you need to, you can make the planes bigger. I would make them very big. Make sure you can see your model a little bit easier. Okay. To increase visibility, just go to the base game assets, then go to materials and just click and drag any of them into the material slot. And then you should be able to see the scene better. You should be able to see the character model head better. Alright, so now you can see the head that I made. And I'm going to select the head. Make sure that it's in the right spot that I want it to be in. I'm going to copy this real quick and paste it here. Make sure that it's in the right Y coordinate. And then I'm going to click the animation player. And then you want to click on where it says reset. And you click on the one that's closest to your species. For mine, it's going to be cat. And then I'm going to select on the left side, I'm going to select the nose and just move it around so I like it. And every time I move it, I'm going to click on this little key icon next to the translation, rotation, or scale based off of based off of which transform I use. So for this, I'm going to move it forward. Just position it a little bit better. I'm going to select both of the mouthpieces, move them into place. Make sure they're lined up. Make sure the eyes are lined up. Alright. And now again, make sure whenever you move something, you press the key icon. Same for the mouthpieces. The other mouthpiece. I didn't really have to move the eyes. Make a duplicate. Make a duplicate, call it the name of your species, and then underscore face. And this will be another .tres file that holds the information for the animations of the face. So you're going to save as mods, your mods, assets, create a new folder, animations, and then make sure that's named correctly and then save it. Alright, and just to make sure, you can click on a different animation, go back to your face, make sure that it's still positioned where you want it to be, save it. You can close out of that one. And then we get to the fun part. We get to the coding. We're going to go into your mods folder and go all the way down to main.gd. We're going to start with extends node. And then we're going to create a constant variable that is your ID, which is going to be your author name and your mod name. So for me, it's going to be this. And then after that, you want to call for the Solier's Lure mod. You create an onReady variable called lure equals get underscore node. And then you want to look for root. And then you want to look for Zolier lure. Make sure it's in quotation marks, and then make sure that the quotation marks are surrounded by parentheses. And then the first thing we can load in after you call for the lure mod, what you want to do is you want to create a function called ready, so that whenever the game is started, so that whenever the mod is called for within GDWeave or when you start Webfishing, any of the lines of code that you write inside of this function will be performed. So for this, we can start with the lure assign pattern texture. All right, and for lure assign pattern texture, it's going to ask for the RID, which is the constant variable we created earlier, and then that's going to be followed by pattern underscore collie, and then comma RID plus RID dot species underscore. And then you're going to get the path file for the pattern that it corresponds with. With lure, you can start your path file with mod colon / assets textures, and then do the name of the PNG that corresponds with the pattern that you are writing. So make sure that the pattern name is the same one that is being called for. So assign pattern texture pattern collie would be the alien collie.png. And also make sure that the path file is the exact same as yours. You might not have a folder called textures, and it might just be in the assets folder, or you might not have an assets folder. Just make sure that you change this path to your path. Now we're going to do this again for the other 3 patterns, and you can make it a little bit easier for yourself if you just copy it, and then you just change what you need to change. So for the next one, it's going to be spotted. Doesn't really matter what order you do this in, the game is gonna organize it for you anyways. Then you can copy it again. So we're gonna do tux next. Just rename those. And then we're gonna do the last one, which is calico. At least for me, it's calico. You might have done it in a different order. And then after that, the next thing we can do after the patterns is we can assign the face animations. So we're going to use lure.assign face animations, and it's going to be very similar as well. It's going to ask for the ID again, which is the constant we made earlier. And then you're going to type ID plus dot species. And then you're going to do the name of your species. And then you're going to do comma. And then you're going to get the path file again for your animation this time. So for me, it's going to be under assets, animations, and then alien face.trez. And also make sure all the caps are correct. If you have any caps in your files, you might have to write those in. I like to write them without caps just because I feel like that keeps it more consistent. And I'm pretty sure that's what they tell you to do when you're learning coding anyways. And then next part is going to be assigning your species voice. So you're going to do lure.assign species voice. And then it's going to ask for your ID again. Then you do comma ID plus species dot species underscore, and then you're going to do the name of your species. I don't have any custom sound effects, so I'm going to use sound effects from the base game. So the next 3 lines of code that you have to add are going to be in this order. The first one's going to be for the bark or the meow. The second is going to be for the hiss or the growl. And then the third is going to be for the whine or the purr. So for me, I'm just going to copy and paste it. But I'm going to do the regular cat sound effects. And then for the last thing, you have to add your species file. So you're going to do lure, add content. And then this one's going to be very simple. It's just ID, species, name of your species. And then you're going to put mod, colon, resources, species, underscore, and then the name of your species, dot treds. And that's going to be this file we created earlier that has the mesh file, has the icon, the name, all the information about your species. That's all going to be there. And then that's it. That is it for just creating the custom species. If you do end up changing any cosmetics, any of the accessories, you can add them here. I couldn't get it to work myself. I will probably make another tutorial when I figure it out. But for now, this is all you need to add the custom species. If you want to add any custom patterns, you can also just add them in here. Just add a new name. Instead of doing like pattern and something that already exists, you just add a new name, if that makes sense. And then you would put the right file there. And then we can save this. We can close out of this. And then we're going to go back to the Godot that has just your mod. So when you open up this folder in this Godot, you will see that it's only your mod and it's only your assets. Now, what you want to do is you want to go to Project. You want to go to Export. And you're going to add a new export setting. Do it for Windows. Make sure Runnable is off. That is very important. Rename it if you wish to. I like to call it Mod Export to make sure that I know that's what it's for. And then you might have something down here that you're missing an export template. Just click on it and then you click on download and install. I'll show a picture of it if I can in editing. And then after that's done, you want to export, pack, or zip. And what you want to do is you want to go to a path that you can access very easily. I'm gonna do it in my desktop, and then call it your author name dot, and then you want to do the name of the mod. So for me, it's gonna be species tutorial dot, and make sure you do dot package, which is PCK. And then make sure export with debug is turned off, otherwise your mod is not going to load in. And then save, then you can close out of this, minimize this, and then you will see your mod right here. Now there are very few things left to do. What you're going to do next is you're going to go to the library on Steam, right click on Webfishing, browse local files, and then you want to install GDWeave. GDWeave is very easy to install. What you do is you open up the zip file, or you extract the zip file, click and drag this into the base folder, and that is the base folder where it has the .exe. Then you want to go into GDWeave, you want to go into mods, and then you want to go into, and then you want to get Lure. Make sure you install visual arrays, lure, and then that's going to be in there. And now we're going to create a folder for our mod. So it's going to follow the same format of your username, author name, and then your mod name. So for me, it is going to be the species tutorial. Then I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to drag in my pack that I just made. And then the next thing I have to do is I have to create a document and name it manifest.json. It's going to say that it might become unusable. That's fine. And now once you create the manifest.json file, you want to open that up. You can just use Notepad. That's fine. And then you're going to do a squiggly bracket. Press enter. Another squiggly bracket. Up arrow. Enter. And then inside you're gonna do quote. You're gonna do 2 spaces. You're gonna write in ID, close with quotation, colon, and then you're gonna do the ID of your mod, or which is the author name, dot, then the mod name. So again, for me, it's gonna be species tutorial, and then again 2 spaces. Then you're gonna do quote pack path quote colon, and then you're gonna do the name of the mod, which for me is species tutorial dot pck. Close that quote. And then you're going to write dependencies with quotes. Dependencies. And then for this one, you're going to use a square bracket. Then you're going to do tab. You're going to do quote. Zoo. Layers. Lure. And you have to make sure dependencies is there, otherwise your mod will not work. And that is to make sure the GDWeave knows that your mod requires another mod in order for it to launch and function properly. Otherwise it's not gonna do it by itself. Then you close that square bracket. And then you can do, pretty sure this is not necessary, but it is nice to have. You can do quote metadata. You can do quote meta data colon curly bracket name and quotes name. Then inside the name, it's going to be your name, your username. And then you're going to do a space, and then you're going to do another quote for author. It's going to be name. And inside name, you're going to write name, colon. And then inside the quotes is going to be the name of your mod. So for me, it's going to be species tutorial. And then it's going to be author for the next one, colon, and that's going to be your username. So for me, it's going to be that. And then you do the version. You can do any version number. I'm just going to do 1.0. And then you're going to put a description for your mod as to what it does, what it adds. So for me, it's going to be custom alien tutorial creature. And I'm probably going to leave this in the... I'm probably going to leave a template in the description for this one, just so that you don't have to type all of that out. I should have probably said that sooner. Oops. But you can save that, and now as long as you have GD Weave installed and you have Zulier's Lure installed, you can start up your game. And now, if everything was done correctly, you can test the mod in an offline server. And yep, there it is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And as you can see, it has the custom textures. It has the outline I was talking about that I couldn't fix in Blender. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a Blender issue. But all the textures are there. They're all working. Of course, you can change the faces. Very cute. Well, that's a little funky, but I mean, it works. Ta-da! Alright. Now, if it doesn't load, I would do two things. I would make sure that your code has the species name and all the places that it's supposed to have. And I would also make sure the manifest.json is set up properly. You have to make sure that this pack path is the exact same as this. You cannot abbreviate it. It has to be the same. Make sure the ID is the same as your in-game ID. So if I go to my mods, it's that. You have to make sure it's the exact same. Other than that, I hope it's helpful. If you run into any issues, I will leave 2 Discords in the description that you can join. They both have modding sections, and the developers will help you out if you need help.